especially for those of, the entrepreneurs who are tuned in or listening to this, really embrace, especially if you're newer. I don't know if anybody's still in their first year, 18 months or so, but I learned so many amazing lessons. And probably the biggest lesson I learned my first year owning a business was do not quit. Because I really thought I was going to come in and just crush this. And I got my ass handed to me over and over again in that the first 8 or 9 months, where every time I thought something was going well and we were going to really, knock it out of the park, and this is an absolute done deal, I'd learn another way to not make a sale because I would something would happen. But here's what happened. Something flipped 10 months in, where all of a sudden, hey, this one actually went through, and then this one went through. And then by the time, back to the longevity that you both talked about, by the time we got into month 12, 13, 14, all of a sudden now, hey, we've got more revenue coming in now per month than we did the first 13 months we were here.
Because you didn't quit.
And it was that commitment that, somebody asked me early on, so Chad, if this doesn't work, what's your exit strategy?
Ugh,
and I kind of looked at him and I said, my exit strategy is I'm either going to make this work or I'm going to die trying. That's my exit strategy. Right. So there was absolutely
why they asked that question?
For me to go back.
Someone in business school said, this is the way that you need to do this and blah, 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 blah. It's like, you've never owned it, right? So I've always been ticked off at situations where people are teaching a strategy or asking questions on a strategy where they have zero context of actually doing that. If the person is asking you a question like around, starting a business, and they've never, or giving you feedback on starting a business, but they've never started a business, then guess what? You probably shouldn't take that feedback, because that person has no context of actually doing it. And oftentimes I feel like these people who say something like that, it's just like, why are you asking me that question? It's bogus, right? I mean, Tim, when was Tesla started, Tim?
12 years ago.
Okay, 12 years ago. And I know that you have on your shirt, Chad, your, what is it, insignia? Is that the word for it? But like, what brand is that shirt? Do you know?
Under Armour.
Okay, so Under Armour, and when did they get started? In the 90s, I guess?
Yeah, probably.
Right, and so think about this. Those companies, Tesla 12 years old, Under Armour 20 plus years old, I'm sure there were situations and times where they wanted to throw in the towel or things weren't going the right way, but you're wearing them today and we're endorsing them today because they stuck with it. And the longer companies stay in the game, the more likely more people are going to learn about them, right? I mean, think about the book where the dude buys a piece of land, is trying to find gold. He's 3 feet away. It's the Napoleon Hill book. And then he basically Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. He sells the damn land. Some guy comes in and says, well, let me look at it a little differently. 3 minutes later, finds that he was 3 feet away from the damn gold. Dude lost like $100 million.
Yeah. And here's the other thing I'll say about that. You talked about people. What I've found is as I do the right things, the results come, whether they come the way I expect them to or not. And what I mean is, as those first 8, 9, 10 months were really tough. But what started happening is 12 months in, 13 months in, people I hadn't even reached out to all of a sudden were calling me. And so I'm now I'm closing sales on stuff, because somebody saw me not give up, right? It's like, 12 months ago, some of those clients that were calling me would have never given me the time of day because who's this guy? But now they've seen or heard me over this period of time. And now, even though, I'm maybe doing some prospecting and I'm like, gosh, made 20 calls and I'm, set up, 15 meetings and not a lot came out of, but here comes one that just seemingly comes out of nowhere. And there's this, whatever you want to call it, there's this sort of universal thing that I've seen working over and over again. When you're doing the right stuff, eventually the results come, but you can't always predict where they're going to come from. They don't always come the way you expect it. Well, if I do 4, I get 2. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you'll do 12 and get 0, and then 7 will come on top of each other, and it's like, but guess why that happens? It's because you're out there putting your name out there, getting your messaging across, you're in front of people, and eventually this stuff starts to happen, right? But it doesn't happen if we, curl up in the fetal position with our thumb in our mouth saying, oh, this is too tough, I can't do it.
Hold on, Tim. So the right stuff, like, can you sing that that song from New Kids on the Block from back then? Because I know that you know that song.
Are you asking Tim?
No.
Surely you don't think that I ever listened to New Kids on the Block.
Yes, I do.
No,
Yes, I do. Isn't it the name of the song? Like, the right stuff? Come on, man.
I don't know.
Neither of you know it? Oh, God. I'm going to go find it and play it myself. Tim.